We are.
Perfect. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to our market recap live stream with Richard and I, where we're going to be discussing some of the happenings of the stock market this week. Richard, welcome. How are you?
Doing well. How are you, Julie?
Not too bad. Friday the 13th. How you feeling?
Is it? I didn't. I didn't know that. Thanks for pointing that out. I didn't know that today. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. I realized after I filmed my pre-market update, I was putting in the date, and I was like, Friday the 13th. I was like, oh, dang. But for our family, we've always considered it like a lucky day. So no superstition on this end, but
We'll stick with that. I feel lucky today. This is good.
good. Good way to end the week, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Alright. So, diving right in, one of my favorite headlines from this week is this hacker stealing $600 million worth of cryptocurrency, but then in this turn of events, giving pretty much all of it back, hey?
Yeah, absolutely. Before we keep going, somebody's saying it's hard to hear you, Julie.
Ah, I figured they
And
would.
I have your volume all the way up, so I can't turn it up any further.
We'll switch it up here.
That is better.
One
Now I'm
sec.
gonna.
Sorry, guys. I'm always trying to figure out my live stream setup here.
Your
So I just,
webcam audio is fine if you want to just stick with what you got right now.
okay. Can you
Cool.
hear me now?
We can.
Okay. Sorry, guys. I won't mess around next time. We'll
No,
keep
we're
it
we're
business
good now.
as usual.
Yep. Cool. Good to go
Yeah.
now. All right. Perfect.
Okay. Perfect. So yeah, talking about that $600 million in cryptocurrency theft, basically, but
Yeah.
give it back,
I know.
almost.
Almost. Yeah. It sounds like Polynet had some sort of fail safe, right? So the hackers weren't able to just take it and leave with it. So they were kind of forced to give it back, sort of. But it sounds like they're holding about what, a little less than half of it ransom, right?
Yeah, like it's in a sounds like a joint account almost that needs passwords from both the hacker and Poly Network,
Yeah.
which I don't know. And they're saying that they've sent some encrypted messages as well, this hacker, basically saying that they carried out the theft for fun and
Yep.
kind of always planned to give back the funds. And that, they spotted the bug and just kind of thought, like, I'll hack them and teach them a lesson. Just take $600 million, right?
Gosh, I mean, it kind of shows how vulnerable these some of these exchanges are,
Yeah.
um, and it's a bit scary. I mean, 600 million is probably a lot of people's life savings, and it's definitely scary.
Yeah. Definitely scary. And it, like you said, shows these vulnerabilities. And you realize why a lot of these big companies hire hackers to try and find these weak points
Yep,
before somebody else does outside of the organization, because this is exactly what happens, I guess.
yep.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it's kind of resolved after this, if this just now gets brushed under the rug since they got the money back. What's the, ramifications? How are they going to find this person anyway? I'm guessing that won't be easy, but
Yeah, probably not too possible. And it sounds like they've returned all but $33 million. So I don't know if they're keeping that and gonna release the other 200 and some million that they're holding ransom for that 33
sure.
million or something. But so
The
maybe it
32
isn't
million
it
would
isn't
be,
all altruistic. Maybe they are trying to steal some money. We'll see.
yeah, pretty crazy though.
But Bitcoin's having a good day. Look at that, up over 4%, back over 46,000 per coin. And
Yeah.
then Ethereum's up too, 5% as well today. So big moves there for all of crypto.
Yeah, and especially this last week, I feel as well, last days especially, crypto's kind of got its momentum and its footing again. Because I know a few weeks ago we had some shaky moments. It was dipping down below 30,000.
Hmm.
People were a little unsure, getting a little nervous. We're talking about crackdowns in China and different things, but now it seems we're well up above those levels, up above 40, back above 46,000. I don't know. It's nice to see a little bit more wind in the sail there, a little bit more confidence, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yep.
Yeah. Now, I know the other thing you wanted to discuss was our the sentiment of the market, right?
Yeah, it hit a 10-year low. They do a consumer sentiment index every month actually, and it went down by 10% over the past month, and a lot of that is attributed to the Delta variant, and I don't know. I was hoping that the whole coronavirus thing was going to be over, right? I'm sure Julie, you were hoping
Yeah.
as well, but that doesn't seem to be the case. It seems like it's spiking everywhere around the country. I think every state is seeing spikes right now, and that seems to be scaring a lot of people. And that sentiment in the market isn't good at all. You saw Airbnb. We talked about Airbnb and their
Yeah.
earnings.
Yeah, they
Um,
had great earnings, right? But all
yeah,
this fear now kind of coming back into the market. They're talking about these warnings with the Delta virus, possible lockdowns again. And yeah, despite, I think they said their revenue grew about 300%, but their stock's still declining because of these fears.
yeah, yeah. They said what was it? Vaccination progress and containment of new variants will be variables that impact how the company performs in the fourth quarter. So their business is highly dependent, obviously, on people getting out of their homes. And if
Yeah.
they can't go and travel, or if travel is more expensive for some reason, people won't spend as much money. And if they don't have the sentiment in the market, they're going to hang on to their money just like people have been all year.
Yeah. And like we said, with that sentiment, we did see a dip back when the pandemic first started happening,
Hmm.
but this is now an even bigger dip in sentiment. I think they said the biggest since 2011,
Yeah.
was it, back in that dip there? So I
Yep.
think it just shows, we kind of handled the initial pandemic, but now here we are a year and a half later, and those fears of having to lock down again are
Yep.
greater than the initial fears, right? Like now we're kind of almost feeling like, are we going to be taking steps backwards? Everyone's been enjoying this whole reopening. We're seeing these businesses start to flourish again. But what happens if we do go back to these lockdowns, especially as we start into the fall with school and everything? Like
Yep.
it's just having a big impact this time around for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And I think people are scared that, the people are still getting coronavirus even with while being vaccinated. I think that's freaking a lot of people out, which isn't good.
Less serious though, right? Like you
Yeah,
can still get it, but you're less likely to end up in the hospital and stuff. But
absolutely.
I mean, now too, today we had Moderna and Pfizer seeing a little boost because now the FDA is saying, hey, people with a more immunocompromised system, they could be getting a third shot too, like a booster shot. So I think
Hmm.
we're starting to see that these vaccines are not going away anytime soon, and that it's going to probably become a more regular thing. But great for those companies, but not necessarily for the rest of us, right?
Yeah, because what Pfizer's up 2% on this news, right?
Yeah.
And it sounds like I forgot the number, but there were I think over 1 million people went in and actually got a third shot without telling anybody.
Oh,
so so there are people trying to get booster shots, but I do wonder if this is going to be like the flu shot. It's something that kind of just we take every year just to be safe. And companies like you said, companies like Moderna and Pfizer will definitely reap the benefits of that.
yeah, continue to benefit from it. And I'm certainly not a doctor and everything, right? But I can see it becoming like that flu shot, especially as we start experience these variants and everything, because that's
Hmm.
what happens with the flu every year, right? We're getting those shots because it mutates and has these variants. So it sounds like this is going to kind of fall into that line as well, but obviously at a different level because of the requirements of it and everything and the impact that COVID has had. But yeah, it's going to be the new norm for sure.
Yeah, and it certainly didn't slow down Disney, right? I mean, their parks are finally reopened, and their parks are finally profitable again for the
Yeah.
first time in a year and a half. And Disney had fantastic numbers. They beat both on revenue and EPS, which was fantastic. They had a expected EPS of 55 cents. They reported 80 cents. And revenue of 17 billion on expected 16.8. So fantastic. They're really growing on all fronts, which is really cool. But they didn't issue the same warnings as Airbnb did. But what are your thoughts on Disney going forward with this variance ramping up again?
You know, First of all, with their earnings, I would have been shocked if they did nothing but crush those estimates, right? Because last year they handled the pandemic so well because they were growing with their Disney Plus, the streaming services, and
Hmm.
everything. So, amidst all of their parks being shut, they still had a great year. So, now with the parks reopening, of course, it's expected that they should come in with strong numbers, right?
Yep.
I would be curious how much they're willing to shut down again because they did operate at some lesser capacities and everything too for a while before fully reopening their parks,
Hmm.
trying to implement social distancing and masks and everything. So I don't know. It'll be interesting I, how much choice they have on how much they would have to shut down again or if they just go back to slightly reduced capacity. But I would be shocked if they had to fully shut down again. Hopefully, it doesn't come to that point. Um, I think in the long term, they're going to be a solid grower anyway. But
Yeah.
yeah, this next quarter will be interesting to see if they do have to make any big changes.
Yeah, I agree. My family and I, we went to Florida, Orlando specifically, in February, and the parks were packed. We went to Universal, and then did a little bit of Disney as well, and the parks were really really busy then.
Mm,
And people weren't as vaccinated as they are now. Everybody was wearing masks all over the place. So I anticipate that the parks will stay open. I don't
yeah,
think they'll go into full lockdown unless it's mandated that they have to. But I don't see
exactly.
that. I don't see that happening either. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah, so hopefully full steam ahead for Disney then.
Absolutely.
Um, Another thing, I think you talked about this earlier this week, and I didn't bring this up before, but DraftKings and Golden Nugget. I forgot. I'm very excited about that piece of news because
Are you? Yeah.
I'm a fan of DraftKings. I think they have such a strong position in that market. I think it's growing. And I think Golden Nugget was starting to carve out their own little space there too. So now that they're going to be joining forces, I think that's going to be a pretty big move for DraftKings.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm a bit surprised. Do you remember the valuation of Golden Nugget when it was a SPAC? I feel like it was more than 1.5 billion, and so if that's the case, I think DraftKings is getting a really good deal here on
Yeah,
that side of the business for sure.
definitely. Yeah. So I'm excited to see them once they've joined forces because that's going to really, I think, dominate that whole online sports betting and everything. Exciting for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And DraftKings, usually with an acquisition like that, a company will go down, and they're down. They're pretty much flat since that announcement. They're down a little bit today,
Hmm.
but over the past week, actually, they're up 2.5%. So it's definitely been a good thing for sentiment for DraftKings for sure.
Yeah. Hopefully see it continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one for earnings. Back to crypto.
Hmm.
Coinbase, huh?
Yep, they smashed it, right? So they were
Yeah.
revenue retail transaction revenue at 1.8 billion, coming in well ahead of estimates. Their earnings were $6.42 per share. Expectations were $2.24. So
Yeah.
absolutely crushed expectations there. Be interesting to see where they go from here, right? Like, are we going to continue to see those kind of amazing results moving forward, or is this just kind of with the recent growth in crypto and everything? I don't know. What do you think?
I think it was fantastic timing for them to go public. But if you
Yes.
look at how crazy the IPO was, you had the price got up to $450 or something like that, and it's definitely still a far cry from there. They're trading around 265, but up 3% on the day. So they've definitely been up since those earnings reports. I think they'll have at least a few more quarters, if not more, of this positive growth as people get more and more excited about crypto.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's a good indication, right? With those kinds of numbers. So I'm sure
Yeah,
analysts will raise their expectations a bit for their next quarter, but hopefully they can come in with some more beats.
yeah, absolutely, I agree. And then AMC reported this week as well, and they actually beat expectations too, which was I was surprised about for sure, because if there's any industry that has been impacted the most from COVID, it's been in the theater industry and obviously restaurants
Mhm.
as well. But they came in and beat expectations as well.
Yeah, and that's a funny one too, because I feel like it always has the presence of being a meme stock as well. So
Yep.
when we start looking at the actual numbers and fundamentals, when you know the other impacts that are being had on the stock,
Yep.
it's definitely more susceptible to lockdowns and variants and stuff.
Hmm.
But it's also a fan favorite for the Reddit crowd and everything too. So lots of different influences there.
Yeah, and they announced that they're going to start accepting Bitcoin as well as payment, right? And I assumed the stock was going to move a little more on that. Did you hear that at all?
I didn't hear that news actually.
Yeah.
So that's like you go see the movies, you can pay with Bitcoin now?
Yeah, I guess. I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, they said it won't be active until I think the end of the year or the beginning of next year. But yeah, that was something that I was assuming the stock was going to move a little more on. But
Right.
I guess we're past that where you could put crypto or Bitcoin in your name and the stock just skyrockets.
I know. Hey, it used to be any kind of we're going to slightly work with crypto. Everyone went nuts. But
Yep.
I think it was earlier this week too. I was reading um, Venmo, the PayPal company there. They're going to start offering, was it Venmo? I think it was Venmo.
Yeah. Yep.
Their cashback credit card, you're going to be able to convert those cashback rewards to crypto, like without any fees or anything. So just
Oh, cool.
there's all kinds of crypto integration happening with so many companies now. So it's neat to see that by this time next year, we'll probably be paying for our groceries. There's going to be a checking, savings, and crypto like option on our pin pads or something because it's just, yeah, getting picked up everywhere.
Crazy. Yeah. And that's why I think Coinbase has a lot of room to run. I think crypto will
Yeah.
just become more and more prevalent, more and more adopted. I think that's expected for sure.
Yeah. And I think, especially, like you said, they were so big out the gate. I think it's healthy when they have those explosive IPOs, see it pull back a bit, and then kind of get our footing from there. And now we'll see these solid results and hopefully keep growing.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. All right. I think that's all. Should we move on to some questions? I see a couple in the
Sure.
chat if we want to do that. I think
Mm-hmm.
somebody's asking one of us if we still believe in sensionics stock, and maybe that's me because I've talked about it a few times. Walter, I am still a holder of sensionics. I am waiting for them to receive the FDA approval for 180-day the implantable device for the 6-month device. For sure, I think that's going to be a huge catalyst for them. Obviously, my personal opinion, but I am hanging on. But the stock is back above $3 per share after really getting crushed over the past 6 months. They're down, I think, 41% overall. So I do believe in this company for sure. But personal opinion. But do you have any
It's tough,
thoughts?
right? And I know that was down a bit after earnings report, but for
Mm-hmm.
any of these more penny stock companies, especially any of them waiting on any type of FDA news, they're so susceptible to any news in any direction, right? So, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, when you're waiting for those approvals, anything in the meantime, you're going to see it drop a bit. But if that approval comes through, that's when its true potential is really going to open up. But yeah, any penny stock, it's tough. They're going to toy with your emotions, moving up and down quite drastically
Yep.
on little news. But you got to remember, like, what are the catalysts that you expected to move the stock, and have those happened yet? And if not,
Right.
do you still believe in that catalyst, and is it still worth waiting? I mean, any of those kind of bio related companies, that's what it comes down to. If you have the patience to actually wait for those to come to fruition.
Yeah, and this, for the industry that they're in, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. So, if they can pull through this, this time and get FDA approval, it'll probably go well, and that's what you bank on with a
Mm.
stock like that. Another stock that someone is asking about is Sundial. This isn't one that I'm familiar with, but I do have it pulled up. Ticker symbol SNDL, down 65% over the past
Ooh.
6 months, and trading under $1 right now. They're saying, I guess, going to be a bag holder after earnings. But do you have any thoughts on Sundial at all?
I have thoughts on that whole industry.
Okay.
And that is just because coming from Canada, we went through the legalization of cannabis a few years ago, right? And there was so much hype and excitement that any company that was involved with this was just going to take off. And I feel like the same thing has happened here, right? Like if you look at the chart with Sundial back in February, though, they really took off, a lot of excitement there. And then it kind of dwindles. And there's so much regulation and different things that go into legalization where, yes, the industry is growing, but it's not without hurdles. And we kind of saw a big cannabis stock bubble in Canada following the legalization. And it's taken years for those companies to then actually become profitable and find their footing in that niche and actually succeed. And so this past year, I remember on the winter, a lot of people are looking at these kinds of companies. And I just remember what happened in Canada. So I'm always a little wary. Like, I think we really got to let the dust settle and see how all of that turns out before we'll see these companies really succeed and take off. But that's my 2 cents on that. I approach that niche with caution.
Yeah, I agree. So many hurdles right now, especially in the U.S. here, and I think every time there's talk of Congress pushing some sort of an amendment forward or decriminalizing or something like that, you see these stocks really run. And even though Sundial is a 77-cent stock right now, they still have a $1.5 billion market cap, which is pretty big for a stock under $1. So, and they definitely don't, as far as I know, have anything close to that in revenue, from what I'm seeing here. And then you have two companies from Canada, Aphria and Tilray, that just merged. That was a big merger not that long ago, and both of those stocks shot up like crazy and then fell pretty hard after the merger. So. Again, like you said, a word of caution for sure.
Yeah, there's opportunity there. It's just, like I said, a lot of hurdles in the meantime, and it could be a while until we actually see that kind of profitability and growth from them. So yeah, I think it's definitely a growing industry. Steps are going in the right direction for all that, but, still very much in the infancy stages.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. All right, we have another question here about Desktop Metal and X1. Do you have any thoughts on the 3D printing industry in general?
I know it's growing. I know Kathy Wood is a fan. We've got a whole 3D printing ETF over there. I'm not intimately familiar with Desktop Metal on its own and stuff, but just pulling it up here, see, we just have a few ratings. Yeah, it's another one definitely down on the year, hey?
Yeah, 74% over the past 6 months. And if you look at most of these stocks peaked in February, and then actually, when I was on vacation in Orlando, the whole market crashed. So that was fun.
But there was a lot of peaks
swimming in the pool, and then everything's tanking. So it was fun. It seems like everything really peaked in February. I've heard really good things about Desktop Metal. And I believe they are acquiring X1, which is another 3D printing company for, what is it? Let me look here real quick.
Oh, yeah, both reported earnings and that they plan to merge.
Yeah, and revenue is growing for Desktop Metal. They were up almost 800% versus the last year period, but still only 20 million in revenue. So it's definitely an industry that's in the early stages for sure.
Yeah.
So a lot of promise, but I think just like a biotech play, like we just talked about with sensionics, I think patience will pay off over time, but definitely with the right company for sure.
Mm-hmm. I saw someone ask about Open as well, and I feel like that's your expertise there with Open. You're a big fan of that company, right?
I love Open Door. I used to have my real estate license. I was a realtor for a little bit, and it is an industry that is archaic, and there are so many bad realtors out there. But as an individual trying to sell your home, you don't really have a choice but to list with a realtor, and Open Door is trying to change that, and they're proving, they didn't plan on being profitable until the end of 2023, but they had EPS of completely flat. So they had positive EBITDA for the first time. So they're way ahead of schedule. I really, really like this company long term. I think people are, the real estate industry is ripe for disruption right now, for sure.
Definitely. And it's neat seeing these, like you said, kind of archaic companies getting shaken up by these newcomers that are just daring to do it differently. Like, I
Yep.
remember when Uber first came on the scene, taxi companies were livid, right? But you're an industry that hasn't changed forever. And so now you're seeing it with Open Door, we're seeing it with like Carvana and car dealerships, and people are
Yep.
ready for these new ways of doing things and are willing to be more adaptable and stuff. And especially with this last year, being from home and having to rely on a lot of different tech type things, grocery delivery, any of that. So yeah, I think it's neat to see these kind of traditional companies getting shooken up a bit.
Yeah, no, I like it for sure. And I think it's such a massive industry. It's multi-trillion-dollar industry that
Yeah.
Open Door, as long as they have access to capital, they're going to do really, really well long term.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. We have thoughts on MEU. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that one. Are you familiar with that?
Micron. That's one I'm familiar with, actually. I'm a fan of that one. Um, they've been having some struggles lately. They've had some really great price targets, but their stock has just kind of been kind of dwindling down these last couple of weeks. We have seen some different price targets coming in. We had a hold come in 3 days ago from Morgan Stanley with just an upside of nearly 6%.
Hmm.
And this is when you have other analysts at like 41%, 90%, over 100% growth. So I think seeing somebody come in with a less bullish outlook, everyone was a little taken back, but they just think that it's going to kind of start lagging a bit, right? They're in the chip industry and there's some different headwinds facing that industry. But yeah, here's what they said. Morgan Stanley warns that winter is coming. So that was some of the commentary
Oh,
along with his downgraded um, rating on the stock. So I don't know. I'm a long-term holder of it. I plan on holding it for years to come. We definitely could have some headwinds in the near future, but I think the long-term growth potential is still there.
yeah.
Just have to get through this winter, I guess.
There you go. Well, and they are down, what is it, 6 months? Yeah, 20% over the last 6 months, but up 336% over the past 5 years. So,
Mm-hmm.
depending on how long you've been holding, it's been a good performer. And it's yeah, I don't know why I'm not familiar with this. A $20 billion memory and semiconductor company. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, maybe we'll have some good buying opportunities over the next bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Let's see. T. Olson says you sound like Kathy Wood. That's a good compliment.
I'll take it.
Absolutely. All right. It doesn't look like we have any more questions, so I think that'll wrap it up.
Yeah, I'm excited for next week. We earnings I feel like is starting to kind of quiet down a little bit, but next week we still have some big companies coming up. We got Walmart, Home Depot, Nvidia, Target, Lowe's, just a few on Tuesday and Wednesday, I think mostly. So we'll have some exciting ones to watch next week and hopefully just green across the whole week. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, and I think I'm hoping for the same because we did see some all-time highs again this week for the Dow and the S&P. So hopefully we won't get a big reversal anytime soon.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, thank you to everybody watching. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, leave your comments down below. Have a fantastic weekend, and we will see you back here on Monday.
Yep. Bye bye.
See ya.